Hi guys, my name is Jemila Abdulai and I am the founder and editor of Circumspecte.com. Today I'm here to talk to you about a topic that came up over Twitter over the past week. How do I finance my study abroad as an African student? Many of us typically do not have $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 sitting around just waiting to be sent to the school that we're hoping to attend. So for many of us, it seems to be a very daunting task to get the financing and the funding that we need in order to pursue our academic dreams and careers. But that said, many of us have also done it. And I think that's something that's very important to remember and to know. There are many African students just like you who either for grad school or for college, that's the undergraduate degree, didn't know where they were going to get the money, but they found out some key tips and tricks to use and they were able to get through it. Not to say they didn't struggle, but they were able to get through it. So you can too. You need to know why you're applying to that school, especially for grad school. For undergrad, you have the option of, picking a general course, and then, especially if you're in the US, and then focalizing or specializing after your third year. For grad school, you delve right in, you dive right in, you start right from day one. So you need to make sure that you are pursuing a graduate program that you're actually interested in and that you can actually see yourself having a career in. Why? Besides the fact that it's more specialized, it's also more expensive. You're more likely to find scholarships and other funding opportunities for university than you are for grad school. And this is the reason why a lot of people tend to work after college in order to make some money so that they can pay for grad school. Make sure that you start the application process early and that you're researching on not just your schools or applications, but also on the financial element. How you approach your application is very important. It should be a two-step process. One is applying for the actual school or finding out which schools you're interested in applying to. And two is doing the financial aid application or applying to scholarships. Many people do part one, but they never actually do part two. And the two should actually work in tandem. So as you're applying for the schools, things you should be looking out for on the financial aid front is what is the estimated cost of attending that school? Most US schools, and I think European schools will list that information. So take note of that because that's very important. And don't just take note of the overall cost, look at the breakdown. Breakdown for tuition, breakdown for living, and so on and so forth. Find out if the schools you're interested in have financial assistance, especially for you as an international African student. If they do, that's already going to take away a huge chunk of the work that you have to do. It means that that school has put it upon themselves to find scholarships, loans, grants, and so on that might be well suited to your profile. If they don't, then you have more work to do. Create an application and scholarship calendar to help you keep sight of the big picture. If you're applying to many schools, people typically apply for 3, 4, 5, sometimes 10 schools at a go. It's very easy to get lost in the details and to miss out on deadlines. So as you're researching, create an Excel sheet, simple Excel sheet, where you keep track of which schools you're particularly interested in, what the application requirements are, and what the financial assistance application requirements are. This will save you a lot of time down the line. Also take note of the application deadline, because if you miss the deadlines, chances are it'll be harder for you to get aid and assistance or funding, even if you are qualified. So talk to students who have studied in the country you're looking at studying, and if it's in Ukraine, find out if there are any people within your network who are or know people who have studied in Ukraine before. for a very specific subject area like engineering. Find out if there are any African engineering students who have studied abroad. LinkedIn is a great tool for this. You just do a search with the keywords and you're likely to find something. I know I have had many consultations with young students and looking to enter college or graduate school about what my own process was. And so, just request an informational interview, or obviously don't bombard them with too many questions, but make sure you set it up and that they're willing to talk to you. It will give you a lot of very specific information that is likely to be more relevant to you than anything you would find anywhere. So ask for help and ask questions. Do not shy away from doing a Google search. There have been a lot of web links that have been shared over this past year alone with a list of scholarships that apply to African students. So just look and you will find. The trick here is to use as many keywords that apply to you as possible. So in my case, if I were looking to go to school today, I would do a Google search for scholarships 2016, African students, women, and then I'll use the keyword of the career area I'm interested in, so like economics, and that will pull up a bunch of resources that you will more likely to use during your search and your research and application period. Look at national and regional scholarships. Now, when I say national scholarships, I know that many of us, the countries we come from, we don't necessarily have an abundance of government scholarships for studying abroad, but we do have a lot of companies that finance study abroad in some way, shape, or form. So what you want to do in this case is look and see if there are any multinational companies that are offering scholarships. In Ghana, for instance, the Talo All company has been offering scholarships for the past 2 or 3 years. There are also regional scholarships like that of the OPIC fund that offers scholarships for students from developing countries. And yes, they come with some conditions, like you have to return home after your period of study, but it will be very helpful to at least consider those as options moving forward. Loans. For most of us, loans might not be the most feasible, but if you've already studied in the US, or if you have a good network in the US, for instance, this is not really applicable to Europe, but mainly for the US, you do have the option of applying for a loan with a cosigner. So a cosigner is typically a US citizen who agrees to foot your bill if you happen to default on your loan, meaning if the deadline is up for paying the loan and you haven't been able to pay it, they're willing to stand by you and to fill in for you in that regard. So obviously this is a trust relationship as well. You don't just pick anyone. So make sure that you do your research on that front. And in the US system, a lot of people will also have debt going through their education. It's not the same in other parts of the world, but in the US it's pretty normal. So don't be afraid to explore financial aid packages, especially if you think that this is an investment, and that's really what it is. Call it whatever you want, whether it's from a rich dad or from a poor dad, whether it's from you or from an institution, it's an investment. So make sure that the investment is worthwhile. I shared a blog post some years back in 2012 about how to determine, or the things to think about before applying for graduate school. So you can click the link right there and take a read, and I hope that it will give you some clarity. And I mentioned already that many people will work in order to be able to afford going to graduate school. That's an option for you too. So if you know you want to go to graduate school, you can and should think about which jobs will help you save in order to do that. In my case, I actually did not do that. I ended up going into the NGO and media fields, which don't necessarily pay too well. At the time, my focus was on experience. But what happened here was I built up a lot of experience, and this added a lot of value to my application, which enabled me to get funding directly from the schools I was applying to. If they cannot pay or help you save, go for experience. Build up experience in the area that you think you would like to work in, and gain insight to figure out if that's actually what you want to do before applying to schools. In a nutshell, know why you're applying to school. school. What's your objective? Research funding options alongside school options. Create a scholarship calendar with funding application requirements and deadlines. Talk to African students in the school or the country you're applying to. Google scholarships and look at national and regional scholarships from government, private sector, NGOs, etc. And finally, work, gain experience, and save. I hope this is helpful. I know it's not too detailed, but I hope it gives you, something to think about as you're exploring your financing options as an African student going out into the world. It's very important to keep a positive mindset and to be optimistic. There are many people who have been in similar and worse situations probably than you have, but we have made it work and it's worked out for us. So have faith and know that it is possible. It's possible, but you first have to do your part, which is do your research and know what the options are. You won't know where to turn if you do not know which roads are available to you. That's it for today. If you have other questions, know what to do. Leave a comment on any of the major social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google+, with the hashtag #AskJemila, and I will probably answer your question. And also leave a comment on this video, and all the best with those applications. You